CJ Marks here. Welcome to the Confidence Series. We have one of the best, just most profound illustrators, artists you're ever going to meet in your life. Dave Wilkins, thank you so much for joining us today, bro. You well?
I am doing quite well. Thank you, sir. How are you?
Excellent. Oh, man, I'm feeling great out here, man. Things are lovely. Very fortunate to be able to say things are well.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yes. Hey, Dave, let's just jump right into the first question. What is confidence?
Wow. Uh, that's actually a pretty heavy one. I mean, it's a simple one, but
Yeah.
it's pretty heavy. I know there's multiple interpretations of that. For me, it's I guess it's a belief that how I move through the world, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, that I there's a certain level of respect that I show others, and just inherently in that energy, like it's matched. I receive respect as well, and so with that, uh like I guess like internal doubts kind of fade to the background, if you
Okay.
will. um because they're constantly there, like, our minds are always going, like, am I too fat, am I too big, am I too loud, am I, that's always, chatter, brain chatter. But when you can silence that and just kind of like move like you belong, you know, and show mutual respect, that for me is confidence. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Nicely put. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave, you're heavy in the game. I mean, you have well, people who are going to do their due diligence, as I have done, will realize your portfolio is magnificent.
Oh, thank you, man.
Oh,
That's,
thank you for what you've given us, man. And my next question, as an amazing illustrator and artist, when and how did drawing go from simply being a passion or a hobby to a career?
yeah, that was a very just a chance moment, if you will. I know they say like luck is what is it? Preparedness meets opportunity.
Okay, yes, that's the same. Yes,
That's
yes.
the saying. And so I something about that rang true to me.
Mhm.
Many years ago, I used to work at FedEx Kinko's, right? And it's a great place for junior artists, budding artists, because you get to learn like so much of a craft. They do bookbinding, they do printing and copying and all this other kind of stuff. And so when you can incorporate your inherent artistic, talents,
Mhm.
and try and fuse it with how you can like monetize it, promote it, how people actually do that, how they make banners, how they make signs, how they make posters. Um, and so I was constantly in this, I'd draw something, I'd color something in Photoshop. And at the time I couldn't afford a computer. So
Mhm.
being an employee, if there was no customer on the design center that had Photoshop and things like that, you could use it.
Okay.
So I would literally knock off work, scan a whole bunch of drawings, and taught myself Photoshop how to color and lay down hue digitally.
Mhm.
And when I was starting to have some success with certain pieces, then I would like try and make a logo for something like a mock CD or cover, and then from that I roll into doing rave flyers. Um, and so a lot of them I would just kind of have like in a mini portfolio, because one of these things they would make is a binding. They would
Mhm.
bind books, so I would put three or four up, cut them in half, and then have them in my apron.
Okay.
And because they're Kinko's, they had like a center where they were they would do logos for people, they would do word and signage and stuff like that, but they didn't have someone who could do, say, a characterization,
Okay.
right? So basically they could give you the title art for your shonies, but they couldn't give you the big boy, you
Mhm.
know because there was no one on staff that would be an illustrator. And so whenever uh jobs like that would arise, they would just be like, we don't do that part, but you might ask Dave, he might be able to freelance for you and like draw something for you. So that was
Okay.
very, they were really cool and open with it.
Okay.
And then one day this lady came in from Midway Games, and this is Ready to Rumble, Mortal Kombat, Off-Road Thunder, Hydra Thunder, like
Yeah.
these
For
guys.
those who don't know your Midway Games, you've played a game by Midway Games. I mean, you
Absolutely.
have. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I was asking her if things were done here in San Diego, and she was like, everything, soup to nuts is done for, so for some projects,
Mhm,
Mortal Kombat was Chicago, uh, Ready to Rumble was here in San Diego,
mhm,
but every part of it, with the exception of like the mass production of the disc, was done here. So
okay,
you have a, you know, game team developing the games, and then you actually have creative services that do the packaging, the box art, and all this other kind of stuff, which was my lane, right?
mhm,
Which is what I was trying to get into.
mhm.
So I was like, if I could bounce, taking these copy orders and get over there and actually start making some box art and making some real money, you know, that I'm in, because I didn't know anything about 3D,
Mhm, mhm.
and this was just when 3D was kind of, but really starting to get into games.
Okay, okay.
So she took my portfolio back,
Mhm,
and their art director flipped through it and was like, if he knows Photoshop this well, we can teach him 3D. So my book never got to creative services.
mhm.
It stayed in internal development,
Okay.
actual game making. So when I got over there, yeah, it was pretty crazy. And just, to see how it's all done, all the tech, everything goes behind it. Um, Even to see like exposed uh arcade cabinets with the guts hanging out of them, and you can
Mhm,
see them putting in motherboards and like testing code. It was
mhm.
pretty, it was a pretty like intense like interview that first time,
It sounds that way, man. But as you
yeah,
said, just preparation meets opportunity. I mean,
absolutely.
you got to be ready for the opportunity. If you're
I
not
got I,
ready, if you're
yeah,
not ready, when opportunity knocks, you got to be home.
that's
You
it, that's
got to
it.
be ready.
And similarly, when I left Charleston, South Carolina to come to California, my mom was just like, opportunities don't always come, because I was nervous about leaving the South and coming out
Mhm,
here because I didn't know
mhm,
anything about California.
mhm,
And she was like, you can always come home. Home is
mhm,
home,
mhm, mhm,
but you can't always go.
mhm.
Like those opportunities, they just don't appear, you know, all the time, you know. And so I
Got
think
to
you
be
should,
ready.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thanks, Dave. You know, the passion for what you do really comes through whenever we talk, man.
Oh
And
man.
that actually leads to my third question for you today, man. There's a saying that if you do what you love, you
Hmm.
never have to work a day in your life. That's the saying.
That is.
Yeah. My question for you, Dave, is obviously you're doing something you love.
Hmm.
Has that saying, what do you think about that saying? And has it been true for you?
Uh, you know, Honestly, it has in many, many ways. And when you get into a point where it's not like that anymore,
Hmm.
or it's typically because you're doing something against your internal like nature or your love of this thing that you do,
Mm,
right? Like I
mm,
love monsters and superheroes and all the fantastic stuff that we all love, right?
mhm,
But when I start to, you know, work on something that's like, well, it's not really my genre of game. Like I don't play this.
mhm,
This is not what I would play ordinarily.
mhm,
Um, like not that I've worked on either of these titles, but for instance, God of War is much more a game for me. Like
okay.
I grew up with these action platformers and Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and things like that.
Mhm, mhm,
Whereas something like Call of Duty, which is like contemporary photoreal militaristic shooter,
mhm.
um, while I see the appeal of it, it's not my go-to to go play. Right? If my
Okay.
friends are playing out, I'll hop in and we'll have fun. So similarly, when it comes to me actually working on a game, like I would much rather work on like the mythology and the monsters and the creature creation
Okay.
of something like a God of War versus like there's a tree. Like, can we scan a tree? Can we scan a person? Let's clean that up. It's more of a tech demo, in my
Mhm,
opinion,
mhm,
than like a real artist thing.
mhm,
So I tend to stay with things that are much more stylized. And the only time that statement hasn't been true for me is when I end up working on a title or a project that's not, you know, not near and dear to my own aesthetic or love or uh yeah, things
Okay.
I gravitate toward. Yeah.
Okay.
But for the most part, I've been very fortunate and been able to work in the fantastic for quite a long time.
That's
You know.
excellent, man. Actually, that's an excellent segue to my next question for you. All right, you've drawn some really iconic characters, man.
Yeah.
You really have. And I mean, for those who don't know, look into. But I mean, this man's penned. I mean, I can't begin. But Wolverine, Batman, He-Man,
Uh
a lot of
yeah.
stuff. So my next question, Dave, is like, when you draw a well-known character,
Hmm.
he or she has to look a certain way.
Right.
Meaning, like Wolverine can't look like a werewolf, or
Yeah, yeah.
Batman can't look like a
Mhm.
vampire. It has to
Yeah,
look
yeah.
a certain way. So how do you draw iconically well-known characters but still put your own particular spin or touch on it to make it unique for you?
Mm. For me, it's you know, you know, the hardest place to look is the mirror, right? You can't escape yourself, right?
Mm,
So things that are subconsciously in your DNA, you can't escape that.
mhm,
You can go to all the life drawing in the world and get better at anatomy, but your inherent things that like you fell in love with or something that scared you or something growing up,
mhm,
it's all still here. Some
mhm,
life experience, it's all still here. That's why you have guys that, there's a house style or a similar style of aesthetic, of realism or rendering that a lot of artists can achieve. There's something about their own innate uh you know the way they render this or the way they draw women or the way they draw men or the way they draw children. There's something that's always signature to them because they're bringing an internal, like, life experience into that drawing, right?
okay. Yeah, yeah.
Like, so for me, like when I draw Batman, it's not always my Batman. It's for me, it's always something like when I was a kid and I first saw, say, like The Dark Knight, which is the comic that made me want to even do comics.
Okay.
When I saw Frank Miller's drawings on The Dark Knight, like, I don't know, it was like an internalized movie that I wish I was watching.
Mm,
Right. So when I approached that character, because I've done that version of Batman before, um, it was like, what would he look like? What would that nightmarish image look like? So it was almost like I'm trying to get something out of my brain
mhm,
on there. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily mine 100%. I think the rendering and the hatching and the lighting, I do something signature there where people like actually know my work. But, you know, like regular Batman, there are many, many other artists that have influenced me. You know, like when I think of Batman's cowl, I think
mhm,
almost like no matter who's playing him, who was playing him in the movie. I remember how striking uh Michael Keaton's Batman in Batman Returns, where they had actually like really tightened up the cowl and how menacing
mhm.
at every angle that thing looked. And he's not a big guy, but he was terrifying,
But he
even though he
looked,
was like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm like, how do I invoke something like that? And when I draw him, because he's got to be cool, but he's also got to be scary. That's the whole Batman shtick. So there's things like that I bring in, but there's always something from, that made an impact on me as a kid. Whether it's a movie or a comic or animation, something like that, that really struck me and stuck with me.
Mm,
Um, Case in point, uh, Darkstalkers, another
okay.
Capcom game, of the Street Fighter line.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
when
yeah.
when
Yeah,
Darkstalkers came out,
I remember very clearly,
yeah.
man. Yeah, I remember like very Dimitri,
Oh
the
yes, oh
vampire. Yeah,
yes,
that was my actually
absolutely.
that was my game, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Darkstalkers.
And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was in
yeah,
love with Street Fighter
yeah.
until I saw the monsters, in that same style,
Hey,
and I was like,
for those who don't know
whoa,
about Darkstalkers, y'all had to check that out because that was my game back in the
yeah,
day.
man,
Dang,
yeah.
Dave, yeah, Darkstalkers. Yeah.
And when the neighborhood kids were playing on console at home, I had the nose in the game manual because Bengus's amazing drawings were in there, and I'm like, how is a human being able to do this?
Hmm, hmm.
And so whenever I think of Street Fighter or I think of Darkstalkers or something in that genre, I immediately think of those Capcom shapes
Hmm.
first.
Hmm.
Before you think of Ryu's face or Chun-Li, like those silhouettes and those shapes, like that make it authentic, because that's in the DNA. That's always back here, because you know what it's supposed to look like.
Mm.
That's why when you would see like, and I hate to bag on anybody, but when you would see anime and it would look chef's kiss, it would look just like, the subject,
Hmm.
whether it's a manga or a game or whatever. And then you would see the American cartoons. I'm like, that's not Ryu. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So it's just like, yeah, yeah. But
So it's
that's what it is. It's internal.
that, there you go. And what I've learned, what I keep having to remember is the best art, the best creativity comes from it's internal. Like you said,
Yeah,
it's in your DNA.
yeah,
Sometimes when we go searching for stuff, we get off track. It comes
yes,
from the inside. Yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah,
man.
even when it's something where I've done covers or illustrations that it's not coming from a place or a subject that I really know,
Hmm.
but I'm asked to do it. That stuff doesn't. I don't know. There's no.
It's not organic, huh?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yeah.
yeah.
It's not.
Then it
You know,
becomes work.
yeah. Then it
Yeah,
becomes work,
yeah,
and it's just like I don't understand this. I don't understand why these shapes go here. I don't understand why these colors were chosen. Like things like
yeah,
that just start to. And while that playback is going, it makes this much more difficult to get done.
yeah. Then it becomes work.
Then it
Like,
becomes
yo,
work.
y'all got my money, right? Because it's work. It ain't fun anymore. It's work.
It's not fun anymore. Yeah.
Which that actually leads to my last question before we get to this or that. I know writers get writer's block.
Hmm.
As an illustrator, Dave, do
Hmm.
you ever get illustrator's block, or just is there
Oh,
something you just cannot draw, like you have a difficulty drawing this particular thing? And how do you deal with those situations when you have writer drawer's block or whatever the
yeah,
phrase
yeah,
is?
yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I hit the wall. I found what's better for me, instead of trying to push through, especially like a late night. That used
Hmm.
to be my thing. I would just grind it out, go to bed like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, but it was done, or stay up around the clock and crash the next night. Just really dumb stuff. Thinking that was the way to do it.
Mm.
Um, but I have learned, honestly, it's better to go to bed and get up early, because like if I stay up late, I'm starting to make mistakes on stuff that was fine to begin with, and now I'm starting to mess up. You know what I mean? Like
Overthinking it and stuff
over
like that.
exactly.
Yes, yes.
So I will literally punch out, send myself an email. That's another thing I started doing, of what I need to do, because that chills my brain out. Even though like, you're looking at the blue light and all this other stuff, this playing with your sleep balance. When I send myself that message saying, "Hey, tomorrow we got to do this, and this, and get this done," like it flips off so many light switches in the back of my head that when my head hits the pillow, I'm not sitting there going, "Oh man, I forgot to do this. I forgot to do." Like I already know I didn't get a chance to do that.
Mm,
Like I've told myself, "Hey, but we'll get it tomorrow. Let it go." You know.
mm.
And then I'll get up super early and I'll either hit the gym or go for a walk, and get those endorphins.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
the biggest thing that I noticed, Dan, is like I started having, or at least my blocks got much shorter or smaller, and I could figure something else out. Um, when I get that endorphin hit, it's much more than like, I used to think is, oh, I'm going in the gym, getting swole, whatever. But no, like there's something in there. It's something
Y-
so therapeutic.
yes. Yeah, I feel this. I'm sorry. I know, man. Yeah,
100%
I come up with so much of my material in the gym.
in the gym.
In the gym.
And
Hmm.
it's like it's one of those things where I'm starting to practice meditation and things like that to like center and quiet my mind. But I think in some capacity I was already kind of doing it when I would go in the gym and I put my headphones on and I zone out and it's just me against me. All those thoughts, all those things that I need to work through, all the life stress, it's not about that rah stuff, like how much can I bench? Like you know, that's a younger man's game. I'm not there.
Mhm.
I go in, and it is something that I really noticed um during 2020, during
Mhm.
COVID, because gyms were shut down and things like that. And so my anxiety was up and
Yeah.
all this other stuff. And I'm just like, what is this like? My diet's still pretty clean. I don't know what's going on. And it's because I would get that burst. You know what I mean? I would
Mhm.
release all this tension and get that burst of endorphins that was like, oh, think about it this way, think about it this way. Because you get so narrow vision
Yeah. Yeah.
because I got to get this done. I don't know why I can't get this done. I don't know why I can't figure this out. And then your vision just opens up more,
Yes. Yeah.
or at least that's been my experience. And yeah, that's I know
Hey,
it sounds really weird. I know it sounds really
no,
weird.
wait, not to me. Other
Well,
people, I don't know.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
other people, get on what Dave and CJ are doing. Hey, if you have those points where you just, I can't figure, go to the gym.
go to the gym.
The gym
If you
will
can't,
make it easier.
dude, if you can't get to the gym, I'm telling you, drop to the floor,
Yes.
hit you some push-ups and some squats, walk around your building, get you a glass of water, come back. Let's see what we can do. And I'm telling you, that little break of the I can't figure this out, just disconnecting that circuit, saying that I can't, and doing something completely different. Like it's not even art, you know.
Mhm,
You're just
mhm.
moving your body, getting blood and all that kind of stuff going. Man, that saved me so many times.
Well said. And
So many times.
yeah, yeah, people, when opportunity comes up, you got to be ready, and you
Yeah.
have to learn how to take proper breaks to
Yes. Oh,
refresh.
yeah.
Man, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
Obviously, we got to chat. We are going to talk a lot more when this is over. But before we get out of here, Dave, this or that, this or that.
Okay.
Just five things. Five
Okay.
things. This or that. A or B. No elaborate explanation. Just this or that. All right.
Okay.
All right. First one. Ink or CG?
Oh, I'm gonna go ink
Ink.
because
All right.
ink is
Ink. All right. All right. All
ink,
right.
ink, ink.
All right. Ink. All right. All right. Second one. Second one. The Sword of Omens
Mm.
or He-Man's Power Sword.
Oh man,
Whew.
that is the toughest one. But
I know.
for me, Eternia is my home world, homie. So I got to go with the power sword.
By the power of
You know
Grayskull.
it's true. You know it's you know it's
All
true.
right. Third one, third one. Obviously, as you touched on, you definitely are about to wait. So, leg day or upper body day?
Upper body any day of the week. Oh, wheel day is too much.
All right, cool, cool. All right, this is fun. This is fun. Fourth one, fourth one.
Okay.
Let's take it back to old school video games.
Oh
This or
yes.
that. Fourth one. Karnov or Rygar?
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
kitties, look it up. Karnov or Rygar?
Dude, I gotta go with Rygar, man.
Rygar's a bad mo. All right,
Rygar is
yeah.
such a man.
All
Yeah.
right, all right. Karnov spit fire, but Rygar. All right. Last one. Okay, last one. I gotta ask you this, man, because you're a professional illustrator. Having said that, I don't want to mess up any business, any money. So if this next question compromises, don't answer. I ask
Okay.
you a different. But I got it because
Okay.
you're like the best in business. Last this or that. DC or Marvel?
Oh,
The people want to hear it.
I know they do. And
If you can answer it.
I can, but there's a caveat, if you will.
Okay.
Okay. As far as the universe to play in, right? With so many different characters to do, Marvel.
Okay.
But that being said, Batman is my all-time favorite character.
Okay.
Just like no matter what. So if it was a choice between drawing the entire Marvel universe and get busy on the Batman, I would go with Batman because that's
Oh,
my guy.
all right,
That's my guy.
all right. Fair enough, man. So you
Yeah,
say Marvel, but hey, Batman,
yeah,
you do. Cool.
Batman. Yeah.
Dave, hey, thank you so much for this, bro. This has been a pleasure. But before we break out of here, man, there is at
Mm,
least one thing I want to ask you to
yeah.
elaborate on because we've talked about Batman and other stuff. Hey, man, tell us about El Zombo.
Yeah. Okay. The
El
homegrown
Zombo.
hero. Yeah, man. So growing up in the 80s,
Mhm.
I was a huge fan of wrestling. Back when WWE was WWF,
Yes.
So, your Road Warriors, your Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, all the good Coco
Mhm.
Beware, these
Mhm.
are my guys I grew up with, right?
Mhm.
And in addition to that, Saturdays where I grew up was always like black belt theater.
Mhm.
Okay. So you would have like martial arts movies. And then after that, they would play on like random movies. This is where I got into luchadors.
Okay.
Okay. Was the fact that,
And
like,
so, for those who don't know luchadors, I know what it is, but
yeah.
luchadors, can you elaborate what luchadors
So luchadors
is?
are masked
There
Mexican
you go.
wrestlers,
Hmm.
and a lot of these guys would have these movies and they would be dubbed. And that's where I grew up, with Blue Demon, El
Hmm.
Santo, Mil Mascaras, all these dudes, these old school 60s movies that was on that same kind of vibe as, you know, Kato and the Green Hornet,
Hmm.
uh, uh, the Adam West Batman, all these joints that were like, you got dudes with a mask on and a three-piece suit looking super
Hmm.
clean,
Hmm.
fighting crime in and out of the ring. And I just thought that was just the dopest thing you could do, right?
Hmm.
Because it was like, for instance, going back to Batman, I didn't care about Bruce Wayne as a kid,
Hmm.
right? But Batman, when he was in the costume, you're just like, man, check this dude out. He was really out there.
Hmm.
And then you look at these luchadors, I'm like, man, that's the best of both worlds. He's got
Yeah,
his Bruce
man.
Wayne gear on, but he's
Yeah,
still got
it's
a mask.
suited up, looking sharp, and like got a
Yeah,
mask on. Yeah, yeah, I know.
exactly. And I just fell in love with that stuff. And then when I moved out to California, you know, the homies put me on to like the stuff that I had watched as a kid growing up in the Midwest. Uh, I didn't know because they were dubbed because
Mhm.
that these guys were Mexican
Yeah,
wrestlers.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And so we would go down to Mexico and see matches, and just the acrobatics, just the insanity of it all was
Yeah.
just really crazy. And so I'd always wanted to do a wrestling comic, and once I found out that, and Blue Demon was my guy. He had the whole supernatural thing going on. Um, and I've always loved monsters, so I had to. My guy was always going to be a wrestler. He was
Hmm.
always going to be a luchador.
Hmm.
And he was always going to be a monster.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, Zombo. We put out that first book. I don't want to carbon date this thing, but I want to say almost 20 years ago now, with Dark
Wow.
Horse. Yeah, it was the first
Mhm.
series, a mini series. Buddy of mine, Kevin Monroe, wrote the first story. And yeah, we put that thing out, had a lot of fun with it. And then from there, I just been like carrying it, you know, carrying Zombo on my back, like there's always
Mhm.
a story there. Got him in heavy metal.
Mhm.
Um, and I've done short books here and there, and now I'm working on an animated feature.
Okay.
Yeah. And in addition to a new series of books.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if people want to holler at you, man, or get in contact with regarding how to get more L's on, but what's the best way to get in contact with you if people want to holler?
Yeah, if they want to hit me up, the fastest way is social media. You can hit me directly on 400 Pound Ninja,
Okay.
Dave Wilkins on IG, or you can hit me up Facebook,
Okay.
just straight up Dave Wilkins. Just hit me up. Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah, man.
Oh, Dave, this has been a pleasure, brother. And yeah, it
Pleasure's
goes without
mine, man.
saying, yeah, we're gonna be here for a while longer
Yeah.
when I turn this interview off. But a pleasure, man. I've learned so much as always you talking with you. And thanks for joining us, people. The
Oh,
Confidence Series. I'm CJ Marks, the great Dave Wilkins. Take care. Have a good day.
take care,
Peace.
guys.
Having a 9 to 5 job or a set salary position that provides a certain level of stability or comfort
Mhm.
for many people. As an entrepreneur, how have you been able to attain or have that same level of
Mhm.
comfort, stability, security without a 9 to 5 job, so to speak?
Yeah, I don't want to say the extremes of like feast or famine, but like there are times